welcome to Cues and Tips. This is
I'm Dr. Angela, and this is
Alex Nance. And today I would like to ask you, because we've had quite a few people who have come through and have remarked how we are different.
Oh.
What makes us different from, say, a hearing aid dealer or other places where you would receive care for your hearing?
Well, I think I will just share some comments that I've heard in the past couple of weeks, and hopefully that will answer the question about what makes us different.
How long have we been open?
We have been open, it'll be 10 years next month.
So yes, if you go to our website, there's a ton of testimonials. We have video testimonials that we have put onto social media, but Dr. Angela was saying this the past couple weeks because there have been quite a few wonderful comments just the past couple of weeks alone. We've had 10 years of wonderful comments, but just the past 2 weeks. So proceed.
Yes, we've had several, but I want to share one with you. Lady comes in and she's worn hearing aids for quite some time, and she is used to the process. She knows how things are going to work. She's been to, I think she said, 3 previous providers. She comes in, we do the appointment. Before she leaves, she has to stop me and say, I have never had a hearing test that is so thorough. And the way I do a hearing test, I think, is to get the most useful information so that I can then decide which hearing aid is going to be the best fit and then how to program that hearing aid to get the best results. When I do a hearing test, I do the hearing test as I feel it should be done so that we can get an appropriate fit. She also told me that nobody had ever talked to her the way I did. Now, when I talk to people, I think the biggest part of talking to people who have a hearing loss is listening to what they need. And that's something that I absolutely feel is an essential. If you go in and you need help, whether it's for your hearing or for your plumbing or for your teeth or for your eyeglasses, if the provider doesn't ask you, what do you need, then how are they ever going to give you what you need?
I do want to back up to something that you had made a comment on earlier about the hearing test.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see, and this is going to be a little bit into price, but not quite,
Okay.
where we have several people who have called and asked about our hearing tests,
Mm-hmm.
and then they've often said, well, this place says I can get a hearing test free.
Uh-huh.
More than likely, that place is not doing a hearing test, but they are doing a hearing screening.
Mm-hmm.
But they use the same term. So what is the difference between what they are doing, which is a hearing screen, and what our hearing test is?
All right, so a free hearing test, that is defined as air conduction thresholds that show the need for amplification. Yeah, he's going to edit out that other part.
You sure about that?
I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Maybe. So that's the definition of a free hearing test. A free hearing test only has beeps. When you hear the beeps, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. In the real world, are we listening for beeps? No, we're not. I mean, the only time we actually listen for beeps in the real world is when we have a backup signal from a dump truck or something. That's the only time we are actually listening for beeps. In the real world, what we really want to hear is conversation. We want to listen to music. We want to listen to people around the table. We want to listen to the jokes, and we want to hear the punchline. We're not really listening for beeps. So if we do a hearing test that only has beeps involved, we are missing a vast amount of information that we need to make an appropriate hearing aid referral, in my opinion.
So your hearing test is not just centered on tones and beeps.
which we do have tones and beeps.
Yes.
We do the air conduction, the bone conduction. That gives us a place to start.
And that is very quick. The tones and beeps is very quick. It doesn't take long, which is why when they do the hearing screenings, say it's a hearing test, they can do that fast, and it doesn't cost them anything.
And you also don't get a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't pay for it, it's not yours. And that is, that's the other thing, if you want to talk about it, why it's free. It's theirs. They don't even have to show it to you.
Mm-hmm. But we are also doing speech and speech in noise.
Right.
So it's a lot more involved and you're able to pinpoint not just the tones that they're missing, but also the certain pitches and certain words that like the high-end S's and things.
And also, how well are they processing speech out of background noise? Background noise, if it's made up of other people talking, that's really difficult because the sound that we're listening for, a voice, is the same thing that is drowning that voice. So all of these other people talking, they're drowning out that voice. That's testing processing. How is it working in the brain? If somebody has very good processing but poor hearing, then we know this is what we have to deal with. If someone has better hearing but poorer processing, then I know that I do need a different hearing aid to help that situation.
So ways that we're different, in a previous video we talked about earwax and how you remove earwax as opposed to some other people.
Right.
And I know some of you have probably already seen some of our wax removal videos. Gross. And
They're so cool.
And we've also just talked about the hearing tests, and how others have remarked, I've never had a hearing test like this before. What is another way that makes us different?
Another thing that makes us different, and I've already said, I listen to what you need. And I think that's a really big deal. I think it's a big deal.
Because there's been a lot of times that we've had clients who have come in and say that they've gone to a physician or they have gone to a hearing aid dealer and they have been treated like a number. Just come in, it's a well-oiled machine, get you in, do this thing, here's what we suggest, get out the door. And what they suggest isn't always going to fit for that person's hearing loss.
Okay, another example. I had a lady in here, not this week, but last week, and she had gone to a big box store, and they had told her that she needed this hearing aid. And so she wasn't quite sure if she needed that hearing aid, so she went to see an ear, nose, and throat specialist. She went into the ear, nose, and throat specialist, and they said, they didn't really want to talk to her about hearing aids, and that's fine. So she went to a big name brand place that we're not going to talk about, and he said, well, you could probably use a hearing aid, but it's probably not important. Well, her job is teacher. And they didn't even bother to ask what her job was before the hearing test. They had absolutely no idea what her listening needs were, her lifestyle demanded. And she didn't really feel that they were involved in her, because after she told them she was a teacher, then he was all like, oh, you need this and you need that. And it's like, wait a minute. That sounds a little suspicious. So, I really want to get to know you as a person, what your listening needs are, what your lifestyle is, so that I can find the right solution. And that leads right into our demos. So at the end of the hearing test, if a person is a candidate for hearing devices, then I will...
What do the others do first? After they've done their hearing test, they give them the hearing aids, and then what is their procedure from there? Here they are. Wear them. Do they sound good? All right, give me some money.
Yeah.
Don't have the money? Give my hearing aids back.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But
that's not very nice.
No, but it's the truth.
It is the truth.
And I'm just giving a blanket. This is bullet point thing. That's what they do. Here's the hearing aids. Do they sound? How do they sound to you? Great. Pay me now. You can't pay me now? Then leave the hearing aids. That's their business.
And
Whereas,
they do have the opportunity to bring them back for a refund if they don't like them.
yes.
Yes.
So I'm not trying to be mean. I'm
Right.
really not trying to. That's just their business procedure. Whereas we,
So I have my hearing aids that are loaner devices, and I can program my loaner devices with your hearing test and then send you out the door with my hearing aids that you can never buy and wear them for a week. When you come back in a week, then we can talk about what you noticed wearing the hearing aids out in the real world and decide if it was helpful. And if it was helpful, how helpful was it? Now, the beautiful thing about my loaner devices, they keep track of how many of the automatic features are being used during that week. So then I can look and I can see objectively what level of technology are you truly a candidate for. And based on our experience here in the office, we've established which percentages of feature use determine what level of technology. So 60%, that goes of time spent in these automatic categories, puts you into the top end product. 25% to 40% puts you in this range category. And we have objective measures that let us know which level of technology you are going to perform the best in.
I know that if I was just learning about hearing aids for the first time, some of that would go way over my head, especially if I can't hear well. So a way that I understand it is whenever you say automatic features, there's different listening environments.
Absolutely.
There's the quiet, like this room. There's the loud, like going over to restaurants such as Cracker Barrel. There's a lot of background noise, concerts, even at church.
Even at church, yeah.
Whereas there's a preacher who's doing the preaching, doing the sermon, but you also have choir and things like that.
Or what if we have a family sitting around watching TV?
Yes.
You've got the TV on all the time, 2 or 3 conversations going on at the same time. That's a different listening environment that the hearing aids will measure automatically.
So the hearing aids have different programs that will automatically cycle through.
Based on the input sound that they are hearing.
Yes. And it's not anything the client will have to do, does it on its own.
They're computers. You're wearing a computer on either side of your head, and they are working together to figure out what's the best configuration of amplification and directionality on the microphones and noise controls that are going to give you the best sound that you can understand.
And with getting to know the client at the beginning, wanting to know what their needs are,
Right.
every person might forget part of their lifestyle while you're doing the interview.
Yeah.
And every person is different. So we're not going to know how much of each of these programs you are going to use until you wear those hearing aids,
Right.
go home,
Right.
see how they work, and then when she comes back, then you get to look at those percentages of, oh, you spent 60% in quiet, and you spent 30% in noise, and 10% with
Music.
Yeah. Going objectively on that, you know which level of technology would work best for that person.
Right, and that allows us to not only fit appropriately, which is super important, but also not to overfit or oversell. If a fella comes back in with a 60% quiet, there's no reason to fit that person with the top tier technology because they're really not able to use all of the bells and whistles. And if you can't use them, why pay for them?
And somebody, speaking of comments that has been said, somebody had told you were selling wrong.
Yes, I was accused of not selling appropriately because...
Which was from a client.
A
paying client who... But anyway, go ahead.
And he was so funny. He said, well, I can afford the top end. I'm like, okay, are you going to use all of those features? Well, no. Based on the objective measure that we had, he had to admit that even though he could afford all of those features, he was not going to use them all. And so then I asked him, should I sell you something you can't use? And of course he had to say no, but he's never met anybody that didn't try to
upsell.
And I just wanted him to have what he needed.
I mean, we have the Torch Award for integrity, as it is anyway, which was not planned at all, by the way.
It wasn't.
It was not planned this way. But that is one of the many things that makes us different. And this video is going at least to 10 to 15 minutes by now, so we may need to wrap it up for this one. But if you are looking for someone to take care of your hearing needs or your loved ones, come check out Dr. Angela. I don't say that because she pays me. I say that because I mean it. She does a wonderful job. We have a lot of testimonials of others who have agreed. So come listen to her, see what she's got to offer, and come see somebody who will treat you like a person and not like a number.
Okay, one more thing, and then I promise I'll wrap up.
Ah, one more thing.
During our interview, not yours and mine, but when I have a new client come in and we do the interview and I ask them to tell me about their hearing loss, tell me about their hearing needs, tell me about the frustrations they've been going through. I have a cordless keyboard and a wireless, whatever you call it.
Same thing.
And I type like this. My screen is over here. The person I'm talking to is here. The reason I do that is because I hate it when I'm talking to a doctor and all I see is this. Because that guy is not making eye contact with me, and if he's not looking at me, he's not really interested in me, and if he's not interested in me, why am I wasting my time there? I don't want anybody to ever think they're wasting their time when they're looking for help. If you need help for hearing, I will give you that, and you won't be wasting your time.
That's right. Thank you so very much for all the wonderful comments. Thank you to everyone who came in and gave us such wonderful comments.
Yes, yes.
And I hope you got something from this. You can always reach out to us here at Hearing Healthcare Center at 812-303-4300.
Or drop us a comment in the space below.
That's right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Cues.
And tips. Till next time, I'm Dr. Angela.
I am not.
Bye-bye.